it's the beautiful part about coaching when you have this chance to get out of like your own mind
Hmm.
and communicate what is going on when, it's rattling around up there. I think, as you say, lost in the clouds, um, and express that to somebody else and just get it off your own plate for somebody else to look at and, to reflect back at you so that you can almost like truly hear yourself.
Hello, hello, and welcome to today's episode of Thinking of Me podcast. I'm joined by Alex Murray, and today we're going to talk all things coaching, family life, biz, and whatnot else. So, Alex is a good friend, I consider now, and also someone I trained alongside of in the Jay Shetty certification school. She's a mom, she's been a businesswoman for the last number of years, and she's just in transition into the coaching world and the coaching industry. I'll let Alex introduce the rest of her story, but before we really begin, I just want to say to our friends listening that this lady has huge levels of insight and compassion and drive for her work, and I'm really excited that you can hear from her today. So, Alex, would you like to say anything, introduce yourself in any way?
Hi, thanks for having me on your podcast today, Lauren. I'm very grateful to you and getting to meet you through the Jay Shetty, classes and getting to work together. So, just looking forward to this episode and see what comes out.
Absolutely. And I think, Alex, seeing how things go is nearly could be a tagline for us, I think, this year. How have you found, at time of recording, we're in November, but what's this year been like for you?
It's definitely been a change of season for me. I transitioned from a 10-year successful career in marketing to a new career here in coaching, following my passions and trying to find something that aligns more with my values, with myself and my family. So it's definitely been a journey all year long, enjoying entrepreneurship and learning all the things that come with entrepreneurship and owning your own business. But yeah, it's definitely been a year.
For sure. When did you make the leap, Alex?
I made the leap earlier this year. I quit my job at the end of February, and I actually thought I was going to start a marketing agency, because that's what I know and been doing for the last 10 years. And I was lucky enough that my husband decided to give me some really good advice. And after I quit my job, he asked me why don't you just take some time to make sure this is what you wanted to do? And so I did. I sat down and I had done some previous work before trying to figure out like what kind of job do I really want, and some real deep soul searching. And so I had all this criteria of what I wanted to do. And the agency that I thought I was going to start probably checked about 90% of those boxes. So I was pretty sure about it. And then when my husband told me to take some time to myself just to make sure, I had just finished reading the book by Matthew McConaughey, Green Lights. And
Grateful.
and I was literally just kind of taking a break, and I was resting, and an ad came on through my Facebook, ironically, for Jay Shetty coaching. And I just kind of clicked on it, thought it was interesting. I've been following Jay Shetty for years. So he's been very influential in my life. But when I clicked on it and I started reading about what coaching was, that criteria that I created for myself, I realized that it checked 100% of the boxes. And so I pivoted. It was a scary moment for me because I had to tell my family and my husband, like, despite the fact that I had, thought I was going to run this agency. I mean, I had built my website. I had all my marketing collateral. I had everything ready to go, that I had to take this leap and do this coaching thing. So I think in early March, I decided to sign up and took that step and saw it as my green light. And yeah, so I've been doing that ever since, and it's been pure joy. It just brings pure joy to my life.
I hear you, Alex. And I think I love that because when we don't need to think about it, when we just jump straight into it, then we know it's right as such. So like, even when something else is set up and lined up, if that call is there and, as you say, it lines up with who you are and what you're about for yourself and for your family, then, there's no, it's scary, but there's no greater excitement in kind of following that. My timeline's quite similar with the month March and that as well. But I suppose in a way, nearly in reverse, it was the kind of thing where it came out of my mouth maybe about a year ago. I was like, oh yeah, well, when I'm coaching. And I kind of caught myself. I was like, wait, what was that? A thought? And I was yakking about it one of the days in the gym with my coach over at the boxing bag. And I just said, yeah, and life coaching. He says, well, when are you going to go and do it? Because I've been talking about it for so long. And like that, I just went over to the Starbucks and opened the laptop and Googled life coaching Ireland, and Jay Shetty popped up as an ad like that as well. And I was like, yeah, this is 100% the right thing, because definitely his work and value system that we're kind of taught throughout the school as well. It's when it's in line, it's in line. Do you know what I mean? So I hear you there. For friends listening, Alex, as I mentioned, is also a mom, and you mentioned your husband there in kind of giving you that little nudge. How have you found, I suppose, balancing some of that entrepreneurship? And I know balance, we can call it bullshit, but integrating some of that entrepreneurship life and family and values and all things coaching for you at the moment. How's that been like?
Yeah, it's definitely, I think like everyone, it's a work in progress. It's one of the things that, like I said, that checklist that I had was making sure that I could put my family first. I mean, in my previous job, I did have some flexibility to do that. It was a priority. But my kids are all now in high school, all three of them. And, as a mom, I can see the time ticking before they kind of leave the nest. And so I know like this is the time to really be available for them, and to really dig in and spend quality time with them. And so I think balancing this new career and them, like I said, is a daily practice. Sometimes, as an entrepreneur, you feel the pull that you have to really, constantly put yourself out there. You have to, you really have to work very hard. But then I get small reminders, that I do need to pull back every now and again to make time for my kids. And it is, what's helpful to me is that I wrote that down. Like, I know that's my values. So when I start kind of getting confused in my head of like, oh man, should I really go and, maybe go do some networking, or work on that social media, and I feel the pull to work for the business, and then, but I know that there's an opportunity to spend time with my kids, like we're on holiday break this week. It's not as hard of a choice for myself to do that and say, no, I'm going to pause what I'm doing because time with my kids is invaluable. I can always work on my business. Not to say it's not important. It really, really is. But spending time with them, and I'm going to share something. So one of the things I do to kind of keep myself aligned with that is that I actually have like a little picture. I don't know if you can see this, like of them.
I can.
So when I get, and I have this for twofold, is to remember to do things for them. It's also a reminder of why I'm doing this as well, as to show them, the entrepreneurship world and, taking a leap and following your passions. And so when it gets a little scary or fuddled for myself, I look at that picture and remind myself like why I'm doing this.
For definite. I love that, Alex, because like, I know we've spoke about this before, where where we lose kind of some of the focus or the why of going through it. We kind of get stuck in the clouds again, is always the analogy I use with thinking of me. But I keep, I don't keep the photos, but I keep my vision board as such, or I call it a focus board, just has kind of some of those keywords that kind of like that can ground us back. And family is one thing for me. And I think this year I haven't spent as much time at home as I'd like, just in all the different, as you say, those pulls in where things bring you in this entrepreneur world. And I know from working together and growing and learning together how blessed you are in having that support system that's there with you. Alex, there's something I've been asking all our guests, and I feel like it naturally kind of jumps in now. So I'm going to go ahead and ask you, what is your stress management plan? Or what's your go-to routine for dealing with stress?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I implement something that is a daily practice for myself. And so again, being a mom of 3 kids, especially teenagers, trying to find space for yourself is always a challenge. So I want to say, right around the time I started coaching and going through the training, and focusing on myself, I started getting up early in the morning. And before everyone wakes up, it's typically dark outside, and I make coffee and I sit and I meditate. And that practice for me helps ground myself and start the day off, with a heart that is settled, with everything that's going on. And I typically have like some sort of affirmation that I practice for the week, and and give myself some focus. Another thing that I do is I do prioritize rest. Being in, the United States in a capitalistic culture, rest is kind of looked down upon. You're always supposed to be very productive. And so, I do take the time to rest, and whether that's going to bed at a certain time. And I've been keeping that time pretty strict for myself, with few exceptions, to making sure I get the sleep that I need. And also, like, if I feel like I just need to sit down and watch some TV to kind of disconnect for a while, like, I don't beat myself up for that anymore. I give myself the gratitude that I recognize that I needed that break, instead of beating myself up for not taking that break. So, it's still a daily practice. I'm not good at it every day. Stresses come from all over the place, and, as it is, it's unpredictable sometimes. So, for me, it's kind of having those things that I know I am doing and that I can implement when I feel that stress coming on.
Sure. And that awareness for knowing, like, as you say, when it's coming to, and that you have those set routines. That's great, Alex. And thank you for sharing that with our friends listening, because you brought up there, living in the United States. For our friends, Alex is in Texas. And I'm curious as to some of those networking that you mentioned in kind of getting up and going in the coaching business and the industry in that now. How is things over there? Because when I say, like, when you talk coaching in Ireland and, oh yeah, this is something I'm doing, a lot of people don't get the industry, I suppose. And yeah, I'm just curious, what's that like kind of locally for you? I know in the US, the coaching business is growing big, and Jay Shetty's philosophy there would be that everyone should have a coach, So yeah, I'm just kind of curious, what have you found that like, particularly maybe in the local sphere?
Yeah. When I'm out networking, I won't deny that I come across a lot of coaches. It seems like a lot of people have been in the corporate world for a while, and things like that, are finding some, their niches in the coaching world. But I will say it's still a challenge over here. Like, I don't think people totally understand what a coach
Mhm.
is. There's no negative connotation to it over here, as far as I can tell.
Mhm.
Um, it's just more people. I would say here people get it confused with like therapist.
Mhm.
Um, and so like having to define yourself out from what an actual therapist is like something that like I've had to train myself to make sure I know how to speak to, like that,
Sure.
that clear definition.
Yeah.
But I mean, I feel like it's
I'm going
it's
to jump in there if that's okay. I'm going to jump in and ask, what is your definition of a coach, or how do you define your business and what you do? Sorry to throw you
yeah.
completely on the spot now.
Yeah, that's okay. If somebody asks me, oh, is it like going to therapy? I say, therapists do like the deep work, of the inner self, of your past, and how it is affecting your future,
Mhm.
in maybe your current state. And I let them know that as a coach, I am more like a partner. I'm going
Yeah.
to kind of always tell us I picture a car, and I'm going to be the one in the passenger seat, kind of helping you
Mhm.
out. You're in the driver's seat. Deep down, like where you need to go. You just kind of need some help, kind of reading the map. So, like I always say, imagine that you passed over navigation to me, and I'm going to help you say, like, what does this right turn look like for you? What is, going, continuing straight going for you? Or maybe
Yeah.
we need to stop and, discuss something. And so that's kind of how I let them know like what the difference is, that I'm more of a partner. Then I'm going to be,
Mhm.
digging into their childhood and
Yeah.
their past. Not that that doesn't play into coaching. I think it's, something that comes up for everybody. It definitely formulates some of our limiting beliefs that we have, and things along those lines, maybe some like low self-esteem, but, we, as coaches, we don't really go deep into those topics.
Mhm.
But yeah, for me and my business, I feel like I typically describe it as my belief, that I believe that there are people out there who want to change their lives and level
Mhm.
up in their, whether it's their career, their health, their personal life, or even in their relationships. I'm here to help them navigate that and partner with them
Mhm.
and, and get them to that next level of wherever it is they want to go.
I love that, and I don't think you could put it any clearer or more concise, that that partnership in bringing you forward, and if there's a roadblock that's coming up, that's usually, as you say, somewhere that's in the nitty gritty of the past, and that's a whole other service. But yeah, I love that, and I love the idea that the person in the car has the map, and I think, with thinking of me, my kind of key philosophy and kind of messaging there is that whatever it is you want, I'm not here to tell you what it should be. And, kind of working through those next steps without external expectations. And that includes me, and I think as a coach, um, we change and grow. I don't know about you, Alex. I definitely feel like I'm a whole other person in a way, over the last couple of months, and it's great. And I'm continuing to learn and grow, and across our podcast here and with our friends that are listening and our friends that we get to speak with on here. I'm excited to see more of that growth, and share that with our friends that are in this conversation with us too. But yeah, sorry, I'm kind of side tangent there. That in your heart what it is you want, and tapping back into that and deciding that I'm leveling up to either make this thing happen that I haven't been doing for a while or at all ever. I've just never actually gone for it, and kind of burning the boat or making that leap, leaving corporate or whatever it might be, and knowing you're not on your own, that you have a partner that's either been there already and has the exact map and can see the same map as you, or has
Yeah.
a similar map and are just there to hear you, nudge you, and yeah, continuing to guide you as you take those next steps. So yeah,
Yes.
I hear you there. Um, would you say now, with being able to live your day to day more in line, like kind of with your values, as you say, and having that space for family, and the fact that your kids are teenagers and they're able to see mom doing this, you know, and out there getting it, do you see a change in the kind of filter down from kind of where you're at now at this age and stage in life to kind of working with clients, and now also down with your kids? I suppose, yeah, what have you kind of noticed, or do you see any of those kind of mindset shifts, or the way we even relate with each other?
Yeah, I think the main thing that I notice with, me becoming an entrepreneur and with the goal of showing my kids that you can go after what you want.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's this almost a settling in the house where I definitely have my own stresses, trying to build this business. But I feel like the house, like I said, is more settled. We're more balanced. I feel like my kids know that, I am doing this also for them. Like they are, a part of that value system that I have built out for myself. And so I don't know, I think there's just something, they intrinsically know that like there's a focus on them. And although I'm very busy now and I'm trying new things and I'm doing new things, they know that they're a priority. And then just seeing me try new things, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I know that my kids are learning from that, or at
Yeah.
least I hope they're absorbing it. I'm just a firm believer of, I'm not going to tell my kids what they should be and how they, should,
Mm-hmm.
what career they should pursue. I can't wait
Mm-hmm.
to see what they kind of decide to do on their own without me putting the pressure that they should be, something specific, or just
Mm-hmm.
even a focus on money. And to me, that's not where everyone derives their joy and value and happiness. Some do, and that's great. But that's just like not our family focus.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to demonstrate that to my kids,
Mm-hmm.
is just, I don't know. I hope it's as invaluable to them as it is to me to be able to do that for them.
Being their role model.
Yeah.
I'm speaking as someone who, one of my key questions, and I've spoke about this in other episodes and that, and anyone who's familiar with the Thinking of Me mission, is one of my key questions was, what kind of woman do I want to be? And how much of things that were coming up in life that were becoming big issues, how much was it me as Lauren, or how much was kind of the external factors in terms of relationship and everything else. So being a mom, as a role model, as a coach, as an entrepreneur, as a go-getter, as someone who's, designing a life by their values, I can speak and say that, when we witness someone doing that, we learn and grow by just seeing that and absorb that in. And whether that's in that positive frame, or, I know there's experiences out there where, and for anyone listening, as well, maybe where you had something on you that you needed to be, or that you had to achieve a certain standard in a particular field, or, as you say, finance, and earn a certain amount of money in that. I do think we're breaking down those expectations, those rules, those constraints that, like, globally. In Ireland, it's taken good bit longer. I'm in a play this week. We actually have our tech get in tonight for Playboy the Western World by J.M. Singe, so an Irish author, and it's set in the west of Ireland, early 1900s. And I mention that because
That.
yeah, I wish you were here to see it too. I think you'd really enjoy it. You'd understand the culture so much better, Alex. And it's good fun. It's a real fun Irish kind of play, but deep and dark in the sense of just culture and the little small towns and all that kind of thing. And then the drink and everything too. yeah, where, and then other work, like I love Martin McDonagh's work and all that kind of thing, and just kind of putting a bit of a spotlight on what we can do to people by holding up a certain standard that's expected of them, or the difference then, as you say, by putting a different mirror, being a different role model. So, sorry, that's a very long way of kind of going, your kids are learning from you. And I think that's something definitely to admire, and even, you know, for any other women or men that are listening as well, to kind of know and go, hey, here's someone that's doing it. And we have other speakers this season that are moms and coaches and that too. So I mean, we will all get to kind of mastermind together at some stage in the future. But Alex, I'm wondering, what's the best lesson you've ever learned from your kids?
Oh, that's a really great question. I love that question.
Because I know I've learned loads in the classroom with the teenagers. So yeah, what have your kids taught you?
I think one of the things that my kids have taught me, and it's been the most invaluable thing that I've learned as a mom, is to be authentic.
Yeah.
You know, I think in this world, you spend a lot of time trying to live up to a certain picture or what somebody else built for you, or what you think, especially as a woman, what you
Yes.
think you're supposed to do, look like.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and my kids, and I don't know what I did right, or if I did something right or whatever. They are just like, they live in this world where, like, they don't care what other people think. Like, they're not
Mm-hmm.
dressing for other people. They're not, you know, living a life where they're concerned about like how their peers are going to perceive them. And that is, I mean, that was a paradigm shift for me, because I was like, you can do that, you know? And it sounds weird as an adult, but it's like, I didn't know like you could live that authentically. And so that is absolutely something that they have taught me. And I always say they're my role models in living authentically. Because like I said, I don't know a single thing that they do where there's like, I have to go buy this certain, you know, type of clothes, or put my hair up a certain way, or, you know, put makeup on, or anything like that. And they don't serve anybody else but themselves. And it's, to me, it's like, it's one of the most beautiful things my kids do.
I love that. And I actually have goosebumps because it's so comforting to hear that on the other side of the world, on the other side of the water, you know, that it's not just a geography thing. I actually really do think it is a generation thing. Now, I get confused all the time. I've been calling it Generation Z, but it's Z. So you've got Gen Z or Gen Z, Gen X, you know, boomers, all that. I actually had to go Google here a couple of weeks ago, like, what generation am I? But it's affirming to know that some of us have grown up, very much so kind of with that, I need to shield certain parts of myself, because it needs to either fit, or because, you know, someone has a standard there. And I witnessed that for sure. Where you're looking at someone and you love them deeply, and they're unwell, and their only concern is what is the neighbor going to say, you know. And I'm going to throw a bit of a curveball here, Alex, and kind of maybe open up a conversation that I know isn't really a norm at these days. But where would a spirituality or a religious viewpoint maybe ever come into some of that for you? Because one thing I could never understand, and I've a background in teaching religious education in Ireland, where, you know, we look at the 5 major world religions. It's not religious instruction as what would have been traditional in the classroom in Ireland for donkey's years. So it is more an open book, but where the core message is treat others as you want to be treated, across the 5 major world religions, not just Christianity, say. But yeah, where obviously, like, then when you look at Catholic Ireland and look at, you know, love your neighbour as yourself and that, but yeah, then you get caught in this paradigm. So yeah, does kind of that ever have an influence on your life, or has it ever at any point over in the States?
Yeah. I mean, I can only really speak for my family. We're not a super religious family.
Mm-hmm.
We spent our younger years with the kids, looking into trying to find community in churches. But ultimately, every time we did, like, it just really didn't align with our values,
Mm-hmm.
and how we, wanted to feel, when we kind of attempted to join those congregations. And so, because we never really could, I don't steer my family or my children away from it.
Mm-hmm.
I think if they, found, a religious denomination that spoke to them and felt authentic to them and true, I would never stop them. I would never,
Mm-hmm.
speak negatively or anything like that of them. But, I think me and my family in general, I mean, I always think there's lessons to be learned from religion. I think at its core, it's meant to be good, and it's meant to, you know, um, instill positive values. And so I think for us, that's kind of the framework in which we live. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
as long as we are, um, you know, acting in a generous interpretation of people, even when we may not agree with what they're doing or saying, we try to have a more open heart about, that they may have things going on that we don't understand or know
Mm-hmm.
about, and it doesn't necessarily make them a bad person. And we just instill a sense of, I don't know, just it kind of sounds weird, like a good boundary with our kids, and
Mm-hmm.
of being good humans in this world. And again, like me say earlier, what my kids have taught me, and that is one of those things, is just being accepting, and keeping an open mind for all types of human beings. My own family, we have things that, a lot of people disagree with, in
Mm-hmm.
this country, especially right now. And so
We
we
won't go
we
there.
battle. Yeah, no, it's okay. We battle it here.
November
But
2024 for our listeners.
yeah, yeah, but we live as a family where, everything comes from love. I think that's probably what I'm trying to say. If it feels loving, if it feels accepting, then it feels very authentic to our family. So,
I hear you. And I'm also just thinking from the mindset of any of our Irish listeners right now who um, that's completely alien to. And I think, yeah, I don't know how much, I know we've chatted a little bit before about this, Alex, but like that kind of, Ireland and America have such a history of a relationship, and I think whether or not you have a connection over there, or or vice versa, this way, there's always kind of something there. And in 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 different contexts, it can kind of be like, oh, the Americans, in the
yeah,
sense of
yeah,
you guys are bigger and bolder and louder and more open-minded and that. And Irish friends, I'm not giving out about us, but to be able to say that you have a family framework that is built around something that feels loving. I think there's a lot of people here who can resonate with that and would say, God, that's not how it was with us, because the wooden spoon. So in Ireland, you'd have the case of like the Irish mammy chasing you with the wooden spoon, in terms of corporal punishment kind of things, So it's like, oh, our house wasn't on love, So and I say that, Alex, in a way that there's so much that we're still learning as a culture, and I think as a coach, to be able to have that value system in place in yourself with your family, and bring that into your business and for your clients, is a step ahead than a lot of others. And I really commend that for you. Would you say, there's something I've been wanting to ask, but sorry, two thoughts there. Our friends listening, Alex and I sometimes can go down side roads as it is when we're having a chat. But would you say, Alex, that being in the States, and I'm being a little bit selfish here and asking this just from our side of the world, being in the States, you've witnessed that, or what kind of story, I suppose, might maybe spring up at some stage of your life that where you've kind of witnessed that in a positive or a negative kind of a frame that stuck with you, that maybe was a bit of a pivotal moment or you kind of gained something from?
Yeah, I think, one of the things that question kind of brings up for me is, when I was younger and in high school, I was very much embedded in religion, even to the extent where like I was the only one going in my family. So, I was forging a path and doing something, on my own, of my own accord. No one was making me go. It was a choice that I made. But like as I got a little bit older, and I think this is where like my heart of service comes through. This is one of the reasons I chose the coaching field. Is that I saw a part of it where it didn't align with service to me. It was service to self. And that's for me when I witnessed that, and some of the contradictions, that's when I left the kind of the very secular religion, part of my life. But what I took from it for me is that service mentality. If I feel like if we're doing something, it should be always in service of others. And for the good of others, and not for the self. Not that yourself obviously is not important, but that's for, us to take care of. And so, I think here in the United States, there's, very religious, country, although I think some might not think that it is, but there is, I think, people don't even go to church every day. They're definitely, everything is still, driven by, God in and of himself. So, as in how people phrase things, and say things. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting culture to have. I think the ability, like, because I said, I've been in it, like, in a strong sense, like very dedicated, and also being out of it, where I'm not, attending, on a daily basis or anything like that, but that service mindset and that, sense of when I view everything from a sense of, I guess a base of goal of love, sorry. And that's my filter. It keeps my life balanced and it keeps it, I guess, aligned with my values is probably the best way to say it. Like it feels more genuine.
Now I hear you, because when you can serve yourself, but you serve others, and I had a thought, I caught a thought, somewhere in and around before I started writing my kind of big project, where building by myself and for myself, but none of it matters if it can't be shared. And I've shared that we do need to know ourselves enough and build ourselves up. That's where, like, the coaching side of things, it is a selfish process of kind of going, I'm taking care of me here for a minute, but I'm not just doing it for me. I'm doing it to share that back and give that back in some way. So I know Unleash You Coaching is your brand. What has really defined that for you as your key messaging? And maybe if you want to kind of chat about how you offer that and what that looks like for you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, for me, even when I came up with the name, Unleash You, that came from a sense of like me personally, even working with other coaches, specifically you, that when you have this chance, and I think it's the beauty, sorry, backtrack. So it's the beautiful part about coaching when you have this chance to get out of like your own mind and communicate what is going on when, it's rattling around up there. I think, as you say, lost in the clouds, and express that to somebody else and just get it off your own plate for somebody else to look at and, to reflect back at you so that you can almost like truly hear yourself,
Yeah.
it just, it unleashes you, it unleashes, the potential that you have. It can unleash the restraints that have maybe been holding you back, your limiting beliefs and all of that. So I love this visualization of, unleashing yourself. And my symbol is a butterfly. And that's kind of what I think, like you kind of, you start out in a stage and then, you turn into, kind of trapped in your chrysalis, where, that's where you're kind of trapped in your own mind. And then if and when, you can have a coach, there's just something about it that transforms you. Into, being able to go after the things either you've been dreaming about, or just sometimes it's just that release, right? Of getting out of your head and going like, oh, like I feel so much better now that I just like, I talked about it with somebody, and coaches, are a great neutral platform to do that. You can talk to your friends and your family, but they're typically opinionated, or maybe they know too much, to have somebody neutral to speak to those things that are important to you. Just I had this visualization of like unleashing the mind, unleashing yourself from your burdens, and so to me that's the beautiful part about coaching.
For definite. And you're a great coach, Alex, and for friends here with us, to say it openly and loudly, again, I'm someone who's very grateful for your work and in learning and growing and working alongside you, across the course of the Jay Shetty School, but and beyond. And you hold great space for people to be able to do that and break through that cocoon, as such as you kind of say, into that butterfly phase, and with accountability, but also with that distance that can be needed as well. There's that holding space, as I say. So yeah, anyone who would like to learn more about Alex and Alex's work, you can go to unleashyoucoaching.com and you'll see the platform there. And if you want to have a conversation with Alex and what that might look like in becoming that butterfly version of yourself. And as I say, I'm someone who can definitely commend her work. So Alex, before we wrap up, I'm wondering what your favorite thing now, okay, about the end of the year coming and everything else, what is it that you're the most excited about? Or what is your, I don't even want to put the word goal to it, but what's ahead? What's the next step for you?
Yeah, no, great question. I think it's always going to be, experimentation and progress for myself, but
Mhm.
it is learning to be more authentic. That's probably my practice. That I am, I try things and I tap on things to see like, how does that feel? Does that fit into, my structure of my life and my values? Every day just choosing to try to find more authenticity within myself, especially with my business. And figuring out how I want to put myself out there and into the world, and how I want to be as a coach. Because there's so many paths that you can take, as we all know. And there's ways of gaining clients, or going out there and marketing yourself, and I want to do it from an authentic place, so that when people meet me, that's what they feel as well. And so, and just creating that in others, because, like I said, my children taught me this, and it's become invaluable of like kind of my guiding post, of how I try to do things.
I love that. And I love how we started speaking today, and you were sharing how the coaching journey really began for you when you just knew that leaving the corporate world was the next step. And from that time and that downtime of figuring out, well, what is that going to be? You naturally found what was authentic for you in coming down the coaching road. And now that we're past that point and moving into the next step of kind of getting business really going and so on, because a new journey all around for any new entrepreneurs out there as well, that it's really not an overnight process, but it is very much a overnight process. It's not going to happen overnight, but it's like, oh my God, now I'm here, I'm doing this, so you also now have that fun space to be able to find the pieces that fit for Alex, that is outside the corporate world, and at this stage and time with your kids and being able to be around family. So I'm really excited to see all that's going to happen for you, and be able to keep connected as that happens. I'm going to turn the tables, Alex. Is there anything you want to kind of share or wanted to speak about today while we're here?
That's another great question. You're always full of great questions, Lauren. I don't have anything in particular. But if we're going to flip the tables, I would love to know, like, the kind of same question you had for me. What is something you're looking forward to or goal wise for the upcoming season?
God, instant regret. At time of speaking, I'm in the plant pod. I'm at home. I'm in Dublin, and I definitely have a big goal of having more physical space. And for friends listening, I call the plant pot a nickname for the small studio that I've been in the last couple of years. I would love more physical space. I see that, and I think I'm trying to get a little clearer as to that looks like the whole world. If the whole world is my physical space, if I maybe I'd like to get more travel back in there for definite. My logic at the time was if I can't travel, this was COVID, if I can't travel, I might as well pay Dublin rent. So I've been paying large sums. So just to give myself growing learning space. So yeah, I think to answer your question, I think one of the next things on the cards for me is physical space to share. Because as I say, we mentioned that there in the case of we're not just doing this for ourselves, we're doing this out of service. And I'd love to be able to do some of those little things again of, hey, come around and, being able to have friends over for coffee and that. Because when you're not in, I don't know, Alex, if you find this as well, like when you're not actually in a physical work space, when you're not actually in an office as such, the concept of solopreneurship, you know, is out there and spoken about. I feel very lucky that I have a community around me. I don't feel completely solo out there all on my own fighting this battle. But at the same time, it is nice to turn around and there's actually a physical human there as well at the same time. So yeah, I want to be able to invite more in, and in different aspects of, yeah, I suppose in all aspects of the word relationship. I'd like to be able to kind of have some room. Yeah. Does that kind of paint a picture? Am I making sense?
Yeah. And it's right along that you always have a room here. So if you ever want to visit me, please
watch me pack my bags instantly. Texas for Christmas. That sounds great. Or Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving this week. So wishing you a happy Thanksgiving. I can make great spuds. I'll do the spuds. I'll do the mash. Yes. Alex, I've had so much fun chatting with you, and absolutely. I'd love maybe, you know, down the line, come on again and we'll see, as I say, all the things that have changed and happened as we're both very much starting off in this whole new industry, this whole new world, and be getting unleashed in thinking of ourselves, giving service and all of that. So for now, I'm going to say bye, and thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah. Thank you, Lauren. I really appreciate your time today as usual, and I had a lot of fun.
Great. Until the next one.